For creativity, I try to surround myself with people that are doing very different things.
Hello there. Welcome back to the Wild Business Growth Podcast, presented by Hippo Direct. I'm your host, Max Brandstetter, and can you believe this is the 10th episode? The 10th episode. We had to do something special for you. So we went to Google's NYC office and recorded. We broke in there. We went through all their file. I'm just kidding. I happen to have a friend, Keith Weisberg. He's a friend from college, and he works at Google, and he was kind enough to host us there that day. This is a fantastic episode. Keith is a global strategy lead at Google. I call him the world's most interesting man. He covers everything in this episode, from his hobby of breakdancing to how he travels the world and advises small businesses and entrepreneurs on all sorts of things, how he embraces constructive criticism, unleashes creativity, you name it. One thing to note is it was recorded a little bit while back, so you might hear some references that would have made a little bit more sense earlier in the summer, but I think they'll still make sense regardless of when you listen to it. And I think it goes without saying, but I should probably say it anyway. Nothing discussed in this podcast episode officially reflects the views of Google. This is just a couple friends talking about marketing and entrepreneurship that happens to take place in the Google NYC office. That being said, there's a lot of cool stuff that Keith talks about, a lot of cool behind-the-scenes stuff. So buckle up, get your favorite search engine ready, and enjoy the show. We have a super exciting episode for you today. Recording live, actually pre-recorded from the Google office in New York City. Is this considered the Googleplex? I'm not sure.
If you want it.
It's the New York City Googleplex, the big Google Apple. Our guest is somebody who we go back to college together. Now he is global strategy lead at Google, Mr. Keith Weisberg, the real Keith W. I think what I would say about Keith is I call him the most interesting man in the world. I don't know if you'll accept that title or not, but just to give you a little tidbit, he is the only person to ever give me a happy birthday shout out on a motorcycle while driving by. So, Keith, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for hosting, Max.
Oh, of course. How about you want to give a little bit of bio, a little bit about your background and sort of what you're doing now and what you've been doing the past few years that got you to this point?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So, as Max mentioned, we met in college, and I think we'll let a lot of that slide by, and always happy to do a happy birthday shout out to you on a motorcycle. Though I must say I no longer ride for the sake of my parents, and by ride I mean I no longer own. So it all started for me actually in college with Google. So my sophomore year, I got picked up for an internship. Really liked what I did that summer and kept working for them ever since. So that summer I interned in search, doing a product called Search Quality Evaluation. This was all about looking at the way that Google search behaved on a macro level and making sure people saw the results they'd want to see. This was a blend between engineering work and business work. From there, I went back to school and did part-time work in marketing, acting as a liaison between Indiana University, Bloomington, and Google. Fast forward a few years, I got hired full-time when I finished college. Did a number of different roles, moving from product incubation to analyst, and now where I am now as a global strategy lead, where I focus on the commercialization of Google's publisher-facing advertiser products. And the way that I explain those to people are that when you go to a big website and you see an ad, you'll probably see a different ad than someone else. And on the back end of that, there's a software that's helping show what ad the website feels would be best for you to help that website monetize and generate a high yield, which in other words is make money. And so I help do the global strategy and commercialization for this product, DoubleClick for Publishers, that helps larger businesses figure out how to best use and maintain money through advertising.
That's perfect. That's quite. So could you say that again? I'm just kidding. In the advertising space, which we know is huge and has always been huge, and what's it like working all over the world and sort of the travel aspect? What do you like and dislike about that? And also, what's it like meeting people from so many different countries and so many different areas of the world?
Yeah, so Max, short answer is I love it. I'd say the longer answer is what fascinates me about advertising and why I can wake up every day trying to get people to click on ads is that it really tells you a lot about a global psyche. So when you're figuring out, I look at advertising as how to do scaled sales. when you're doing a sales call, you're trying to get someone to buy something, you want to evoke an emotional response and give them something they need. You're trying to get them to purchase a product that'll either save them time, save them money, make their lives easier. Advertising is the scaled out one-to-many version of that. And there is no solution that fits all. So we may develop a strategy that would work really well in the Americas. You go to a country that's significantly more sensitive when it comes to privacy, like Germany. That will not work there. And then you go somewhere else in Asia, like Japan. Very different behavior when it comes to advertising consumption. And so it's really cool for me to come up with a baseline strategy and then go somewhere and make that strategy work, because you need to understand the people there and the culture in order to try and make something work for a specific country. And that's where the travel comes into play. You get to go on. I remember being in Korea once and trying to figure out why people were using their phones so much, and just riding around on the buses and watching what people did with their phones. And situations like that are just so cool to see how culture works under the hub.
Right, and they all have iPhones over there, right?
Oh, no.
Maybe not. So what goes into the research aspect? Is it a lot of studying people in person and just soaking yourself into the culture and learning that way in person, or how much is beforehand, doing deep research and before you even make your trip out there?
Usually it's a healthy mixture of both, because at the end of the day, I'm no UX researcher. I don't know the best place to put the button on the screen. I'm not a creative designer, so I don't know the best creative that will target the audience out there.
Right. But you can draw, you can doodle with your pencil.
Yeah, you can see me doodling right now, actually. So a lot of what I'll do is it's managing the teams that are out there and working with them, because they know better than I do. They live in the country. They generally work on the local strategy and trying to balance out with them what the product needs are. Because we only have so many engineers that can work on building the product out. And so you got to work with them and prioritize what's the revenue opportunity out here, what's everything they're trying to do, lay it on a global level, and build it out that way.
Awesome. That makes a lot of sense. One of the things that we want to focus on in this Wild Business Growth podcast is the subject of creativity, and more specifically, how creativity plays into your everyday life, your work life, and how you get to that point where you unleash that creativity. So you've been talking about some of the things that you're working on right now and some of the things that you've been working on in the past. Where do you see creativity come into play in those things that you're working on, and how important is it to stay, fresh with new ideas?
So I see creativity as an essential way to look at things. So I often welcome a fresh perspective. If someone has something to say or they want to do something differently, I'm more than open to see how they want to do it. I think the biggest thing is recognizing when to use creativity, at least in my role, or when to do things the way they were done previously. Because I'm constantly balancing priorities, as anyone is. When I look at all of my priorities, the question is, do we want to do this the way that we know how, or is there a better creative way we can do it? And at what resource cost would that be?
Okay. Yeah.
And so I try to maximize my time by blocking off my calendar for long periods of time of deep thought. Maybe it's like an hour, 2 hours, where I try to get away from my computer. It's difficult to go away from your phone as well. But try and clear your mind and kind of think about a very big problem.
Right. Okay. Well, you actually read my mind, because the next thing I wanted to get into was sort of, what do you do to stay creative? So one of the things I guess you're saying is clear your mind, kind of get away, give yourself sort of a little mental break from everything. For you, how do you most often do that? Is it just getting yourself in isolation? Is it going for a walk?
So I definitely go running frequently and go to the gym.
Nice. You're very fast.
Thank you. I try to be.
Yeah.
So that's one of my main outlets. But
perfect. Yep.
When it actually comes to it, I'd say I do that more as like a meditation type of thing.
Okay.
For creativity, I try to surround myself with people that are doing very different things. So when I look at what most of my friends are doing and where I put my free time, I'm hanging out with people that are often working in fashion or in different types of business or artists. And the way that they approach problems and the way that they do things are distinctly different than typical business people.
Okay. So people in totally different industries.
Yeah, so when you talk to someone and they're like really struggling between like the hue of the color they want to mass produce to try and make it a popular piece of clothing in Canada.
Okay.
Like just hearing the way that they approach that problem and how they think about it, and then like having a few drinks with them and getting into the nitty gritty is such a different way than how he'd approach just trying to help a business generate more revenue through advertising without pissing off everyone going to their website.
Right. Exactly. So one of the things that's interesting about creativity is that it often involves sort of stepping out of your comfort zone. You have to challenge yourself to constantly, think outside the box. Is there a time that sticks out in your mind about when you stepped out of your comfort zone, or sort of how you got used to stepping out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, so a time that I stepped out of my comfort zone. I'm trying to think of a recent example.
Doing a podcast, maybe.
Yeah, right. Here we go, doing a podcast.
Exactly.
No, so I remember not too long ago, I was recently new to this job. And so for a little bit of background, I was an analyst beforehand. Before doing this job, I've always been working in sales in some capacity, but analytical work, you're on your computer most of the day. A job like this, you're working with people.
Right.
And with this comes speaking in front of public audiences and sometimes being the best person in the area to address a problem or question. I remember being in Dublin, Ireland to give a presentation. And the thing was, I didn't know I was giving a presentation. I thought I was going there just to listen to other people talk about the products and catch up on everything because I was really new in the job. I'd only been in the job a couple months, and it was something totally different. And so I found out one day before that I was going to be giving a presentation, and I was kind of okay with it. I figured it'd be like, a 5-10 minute thing, and it turned out to be like a full hour slot.
Oh, wow.
And so I had to quickly figure out like how to present to an audience of experts on a product that I was not an expert in a way that would A, be worth their time, B, be happy to be working with us, and C, leave them like happy, informed, and wanting to continue to work with us.
Okay.
And so you take a situation like that, and you have to quickly, frantically pull together how you want to make this happen. And I think you start to get comfortable having a network of experts to rely on or people to go to for advice or mentorship.
Yep.
In order to make something like that happen. Because I know if you put me in front of a big audience, like I'll be comfortable, but I try to be really conscious of not wasting people's time.
Right.
And so I think that was really new for me to be speaking as an expert on a topic that I was definitely not an expert on.
Yeah, that's a really good example.
Well, let's say to tie it back to your original question of how to get comfortable being uncomfortable, I think you just got to get used to the fact that you will never be comfortable being uncomfortable and recognize it as somewhere where you grow. And if you're not growing, then you probably should reevaluate what you're doing with your time.
Right, exactly, and that takes it back to that's a good segue. I like that point a lot about not wasting people's time, and obviously, the everyday world today is getting so much more cluttered, and with the influx of social media and the fact that we're all so much more connected, that you really have to be even more so on top of how you're managing your time, and time is even more sensitive, to everyone. So, on that point of not wasting people's time, how do you sort of implement that in your everyday life as far as like your interactions with people in meetings or in the office? What are you doing on a daily basis to make sure that you're not wasting people's time?
So I have a lot of different techniques that I'm always constantly evaluating to try and ensure I'm not wasting people's time.
Let's hear them.
So the first one is I know that Android phones, like shameless ploy for Android.
Yeah.
Like,
by the way, we're at Google, by the way.
As an iPhone user, I feel like I use both. But
well, we can cut that out.
So
Nice.
I have an app on my iPhone called Moment, since iPhones don't yet have it baked in to show you where your time is being spent in apps.
Right.
But honestly, it's a great app. It was built by a researcher. I don't remember his name off the top of my head.
Okay.
But this app Moment basically shows me where the time is spent on my phone. So it shows you like, hey, you spent 22 minutes on Instagram today. Or, hey, like, you spent 17 minutes answering emails. And, like, it shows you the breakdown on a 24-hour basis of where your time is going in all your apps.
Wow. So you get, like, real-time analysis of what you're doing then.
Yeah. And so when you're, like, doing something, like, I feel like Facebook, Instagram, fantastic products, but you're not necessarily being the most productive person when you're on them. And so you can see how much of your brain is melting away per day when you start to, like, use an app like this. Simultaneously, in terms of meetings or whenever someone is trying to email me, I try to, like, quickly get to the meat of it. It's like, what do you want? How can I help? Is this necessary? Why are we doing this? Is this the best use of our time? I kind of like ask these questions. And whenever I go to a problem, I try to come with a solution as well. It may not be the best, but if anyone ever has a problem, I try to get them in the habit of coming to me with a potential solve.
Right.
So that way it's at least, hey, I don't know what to do, but hey, I don't know what to do. Here's what I'm thinking. And it kind of starts the ball rolling in a solution-oriented direction.
Yeah, it's so much better to start with something that's already there, even if it's not the right answer. It may be something that you can edit or something that you can tweak that's puts you in a way better place than just starting fresh on something. And totally subscribe to that. No podcast pun intended. So I want to switch gears a little bit to a segment that we call sources of inspiration. So kind of where you find your inspiration. Think about people. Maybe it's hobbies, maybe it's resources, like a website or a podcast or something, a wild business growth podcast you listen to, or, or it could be a variety of things. But let's start with people. So, So who would you say is the person that is the most inspiring to you? Could be your family, could be someone, a celebrity, could be a famous person in your family.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about it because there's the cop-out answer, which would be my parents, which both function. I'd say.
I mean, it's a very real and good answer.
Well, I mean, they're both.
I would say the same.
Yeah. So my dad's an entrepreneur as well as my mom.
Nice.
So my mom's more in the finance space, and my dad.
So they don't work together; they work in different spaces.
Well, they both kind of work on different spaces. My mom helps a lot with the marketing on my dad's business as well.
Okay,
and
cool.
so I've watched them manage and live their lives. But to give everyone someone that I think is more well known, I would probably say Sean Parker.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of Sean Parker because the way that he lives his life and conducts himself.
Mm-hmm.
I like to look at things that are out of the box. I like to look at rules as something that are meant for normal people. And the moment where it hit me is that I have a very serious peanut allergy. Where I have an EpiPen. And
so does my brother, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
allergic to peanuts.
Well, it's annoying. But I also like peanuts, but not enough to go anaphylaxis. But there's a balance.
There's definitely a happy peanut medium there.
But I read an article where he basically carries Benadryl around so that he can eat peanuts and then take an antihistamine right after. And
as a chaser.
As a chaser.
Wow.
Because if something is really good, I don't want to be stopped from trying it.
Yeah.
And so I actually have that in my wallet as well. And I have been doing that for longer than I read this article.
Wow. No way.
And so it's just I can.
So
for those that can't
same
see,
thing.
I carry these little they make these pocket Zyrtecs that you can carry in your wallet.
Yep.
Because I learned after messing up once, you go to the emergency room and you pay about $1,000 and they give you Zyrtec.
Wow.
So I was I can just do that at home.
Yeah, that's a smooth way.
Not to endorse that.
Take out the middleman.
Yeah.
And Andrew, my brother, by the way, if you're listening, not saying you should try it, but we got some ideas here. The Team Peanut Unite. But okay, so that's a person. What about hobbies? Well, you mentioned running. You're big into. Anything else you like to do in your free time that sort of keeps you fresh, keeps you young, keeps your beard full?
I do try to keep it full. Beard oil, great stuff. But
there we go. Get the Google beard oil.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to recommend it for everyone. No. In terms of hobbies, I like to churn hobbies. So I generally like to do something to hit that point of inflection curve where you go from good to great.
Mm-hmm.
I find that after a point of learning a new skill, you hit a certain point where it would be a lot of real work to get any better. You're doing something maybe once, twice a week, you get pretty good, and you hit that point where it's I'll have to do this every day to get better.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, my ADD kicks in and I switch.
Right.
So I'd say
seems like a good time.
Yeah.
So what are your favorite hobbies then?
So it used to be motorcycle racing and breakdancing.
Yeah. At the same time?
Oh, at the same time.
Wow. I wasn't kidding. Most interesting man in the world.
Yeah. Well, I ended up dropping that though after a serious injury from both of them.
Oh, wow. At the same time?
No.
I'm just kidding.
Not at the same time this
Got it.
time. But after doing that, I try to do things that get me less injured. So most recently I've been...
Probably makes your parents happy.
Yeah, so I'm now doing salsa dancing a couple times a week. I've also been getting into kiteboarding, if you've ever seen that. It's kind of like surfing combined with parasailing.
I think I've maybe seen a YouTube video. Couldn't resist, but I've never actually done it, but that seems odd. Is that your favorite thing right now? If there was a what's the top one of your favorite hobbies
top
right
one
now?
Of my favorite hobbies?
Yeah, if there was a list of one that was your favorite.
Oh man, I didn't say it earlier, but I'd probably put skiing up there.
Okay, yeah.
Big into skiing.
Especially in the summertime. It's great.
Yeah, well, on the water. But,
Do you have a favorite ski resort?
Well, so for Alpine Skiing, I would say I go to Utah every year just for the extreme convenience of being able to fly into Salt Lake City, work remotely for a day, ski all day Friday, Saturday, Sunday, red eye back on Sunday, and then power through what's not a pleasant Monday. But you get 3 ski days out of it.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. And do you snowboard at all, or is it strictly skiing?
I can snowboard. I took lessons before, but the problem I've had in my later years is that it's hard to give up a good ski day to learn to snowboard. Mm-hmm. And often I find that moguls and trees not so easy in a snowboard.
Right. Would you consider yourself an advanced skier?
I'd like to think so.
Okay, so you do the black diamonds. It takes me back to my time on the bunny slopes and, doing backflips and stuff. And skiing. That's always fun. It's a nice thought. It's a nice thought right now with it being so hot the past few weeks. So that's hobby. Let's do one more here for this segment. Resources. Do you have any books or favorite author or media or resources do you consume that helps to keep your beard full?
Let's see. So keeping the beard full is definitely a full-time hobby.
Yeah. Oh, I see that.
I work on it almost every day, every hour, every minute.
Wow.
It's constantly growing.
It's amazing. Yeah. He's all about the hustle, even with the facial hair.
In terms of resources, I generally get more emails than I can physically consume on a daily basis. Same with alerts and everything else. And so I try to read. I get The Economist physically mailed to me every week.
Okay.
I try to read that.
Just throwback. Do you how come you do physically mail? It's just a break from.
Just to do a break from electronics. Like I try to get in this hobby of like Saturday mornings, like ideally not hungover, wake up at a decent hour.
Right. Ideally.
Go to a coffee shop across the street, pay way too much for avocado toast, and try to like read through The Economist.
Do you have an avocado toast shirt? You've seen those?
I would love to get one of those, but I'm spending too much on the toast itself.
I see. That makes sense. Yes, you definitely. If backed into a corner, you probably want to spend it on the toast versus the T-shirt that says the toast. But
yeah. So for those that don't know, we're based in New York, where you end up paying around $10 for a piece of toast.
Yeah. Right. Whereas we were walking by one of the gift shops yesterday. Just saw one on the street, and it was $7 for 7 shirts for $10. So
wow.
So I guess the shirt is a better deal, but do you get the same value out of it? Who knows?
Same level of fiber.
Same level. Different levels of cotton,
but resources.
Resources, yeah. We're all about tangents here.
Yeah. When it comes to resources, I'd say Economist is where I try to get my news from the UK, just because there's so much fake news going on.
Yes.
The Economists are kind of like OGs. It's definitely a little bit heavy to read sometimes, but you're not getting. You kind of recognize that it's swinging a little more left, but they're trying to be as unbiased as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I also read a lot of the news just to try and. I'm not a big sports guy, so I found that I have to kind of know what's going on in the world to like relate to people.
Right. Okay.
So I try to read Al Jazeera as well to get another take. I try to also get AP because that's the closest I found to like not incredibly swinging either direction.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then Wall Street Journal, New York Times.
Gotcha. Cool. So you're up on a lot of the classics, I guess, ones that have been around for a long time, and I mean, you know how kind of refreshing it is every now and then to read something in print as opposed to on your phone, since we're all looking at screens all day anyway. So
right.
This is a segment called the Wild Business Shout Out of the Week.
The Wild Business Shout Out of the Week!
And what we're going to talk about here is something that's happening now, or a recent creative marketing campaign that caught our eye, and then we'll just go through each of our thoughts on it real quick. So one that caught my eye that I want to bring up is Casper, the mattress company. So I know they're going like crazy, and it's always fun to see how mattress companies market themselves, because historically it was always just mattress firm owns all of Florida, and it's you see mattress stores like that everywhere. But a lot of the ones that you can just buy online now have some really, really cool marketing campaigns. Anyway, I saw recently that Casper in New York, right here actually, they opened a storefront that was specifically for napping. So you can't buy a mattress there. So it kind of, non-intuitive there. You open a store that you can't buy something at. But, there's one down the street that you can actually buy at. Anyway, I thought it was a really cool idea that people can pay, I think it's $25 to, go there, get a break from, the busy city in the middle of the day and take a nap. So I want to know, have you heard of that campaign? If not, do you have any thoughts on that campaign or Casper, what they're doing as a whole?
So I have heard about it. I love Casper because they do a lot of crazy, interesting things to get you on their attention.
Perfect. Casper, we're open to sponsors, by the way.
Yeah. So I have a Casper mattress. The way they got me was that I wanted to buy some. I was like, I'm moving to New York. I want to buy like a super nice, ridiculous mattress. Mm-hmm. Let me just buy this Casper mattress that I can return after 90 days, and while I go mattress hunting. And I kind of slept on it, and I was like, oh, this kind of works. And then 90 days went by, and I was like, oh, this kind of works. It's been 2 years. 2 years of this Casper mattress. Happy with it. It's great.
Perfect. It's good. It's comfortable.
It's comfortable, but in terms of their marketing campaign for napping, I think it's great. I think a lot of people suffer from not sleeping enough. We all kind of trick ourselves that like we don't need enough sleep.
Yeah.
I think people generally need like between 7 and 8 hours. People genetically can do less, but
yeah,
most people are just burning the candle on both ends.
Do you try to get as much sleep as you can?
I mean, I try to physically be in bed 8 hours from the period of time I want to sleep.
Right.
And I also know it's very healthy to try and go to bed and wake up at the same time. And
yes.
I was telling Max earlier, I kind of feel like I feel jet lagged almost every Monday because I generally get in this great routine during the week where wake up at 6 or 7 and get to bed early, and the weekend happens, I'm going to bed at 6 or 7 and in the morning.
Yes, it happens. Sometimes, I mean, it's good to have the nocturnal experience every now and then.
Yeah.
And you probably have some creative ideas that come out of it.
Hi, this is Greg Brandstetter, founder of Hippo Direct. Has all this wild growth talk made you hungry for some new customers? Well, here's your recipe for success. Hippo Direct can help you acquire new clients using proven methods such as postal mailings, email marketing, and targeted ads on Google, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We can even create a customized leads and prospecting database for you. So check out hippodirect.com and contact us today.
So this is gonna be the most serious segment of the recording, but we don't want any tears or anything. It's just we want to kind of bring it down a level, just because I think this is something that is always interesting to people, and I think people can really learn from it. And it's interesting to hear it from other people. We'll call it the learning from regrets segment, or learning from mistakes segment. So, always fascinated by how mistakes have driven people forward in their career, or it's something that they've regretted, or maybe it's like a business opportunity that they had that they didn't move forward with for some reason. For you, what's something that you can think of that you're doing now that you wish you would have started doing earlier?
So that's a very difficult question.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Right. So I guess one thing is when it comes to critiques and getting people to give me real, candid, functional feedback, I always joke I have a box of tissues at my desk. Make me use them.
And that's not blowing your nose, right?
No.
Perfect. That's a good.
Just get me sick.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good line.
Yeah.
So
I try to get good, candid,
you want people
feedback.
to be as direct as possible.
Yeah, because a lot of people try to sugarcoat it and they want to fluff it because they don't want to hurt your feelings. And
right.
I just explain to people that I won't know if you don't bluntly tell me.
Right.
But when it comes to actual tangible regrets, I have a few that immediately pop into my mind. Some of them I'm happy I did, and some of them less happy. The one that I think would probably make the most relevant sense for this would be a product that I was working on while doing my job at Google.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first started working at Google, in college I was working on a startup with a few friends. We had signed a deal with one of the largest student radio stations in the nation, and we were going to help crowdsource what music they should play. And this was back in we'll call it 2010, 2011, when people weren't really doing that yet. And so that deal would have been big.
Mm-hmm.
But that was college.
Right.
After college, I started on another project with a few friends. And this one I had permission of the company to work on. I worked on it on nights and weekends. And we got to a point, it was using machine learning to help people study for standardized tests in a more efficient way. And so for those who have ever taken a standardized test, there's a book you get, a big giant blue book, whether it's the LSAT, the SAT, whatever it is. And the only way to really study is you get this giant book and you take one of the big company courses or you hire a private tutor.
Mm-hmm.
But there's only a few ways to do it. The barrier to entry is virtually non-existent. And there hasn't been innovation in it for a while because it's all done by Kaplan or Manhattan or a few other big folks that control the industry, all standardized by the College Board.
Yep.
So we had come up with a way to use machine learning to help people study more efficiently. And we started to design it. We had an engineer on the team, and we had a legal expert on the team who was someone who also tutored and was in the 95, 99 percentile for the LSAT himself.
Wow. Which is not bad.
Nah, it's okay. Better than I do. And so we had the team up and running. We went and got funding. And after closing our round of funding, we realized that we were at that point that everyone realizes when they try to do a company where you have to make a decision, which is, are you going all in or not?
Yep.
And we talked about it as a team, and we ended up deciding that we were not going all in. We ended up folding the company. I think it would probably still work as a company. And I'd say that was a regret for me in the sense that it taught me not to waste my time on something that I'm not willing to go 100% in.
Right.
Because for me, I'm not passionate about school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm passionate about time efficiency, but
yes,
something like this wasn't my core competency, and it was close to it, but I didn't love it. I just thought it was a really cool idea that I really liked. And you can't wake up every day doing something you just like.
Right. So ultimately it came down to interest with you guys, as far your own personal interest as far as whether you were moving forward with that or not.
Exactly.
Right.
And all of us
which had to be tough in that. Yeah, it's always that's that critical point on startups where it's you really gotta go all in at some point. Are there any sort of other business ideas that you have, or do you actively search for business ideas, or is it kind of now that you're in full time you're kind of focused on Google?
So all the time, I still mentor entrepreneurs
Mm-hmm.
on a regular basis. And I also do consulting for small and medium-sized businesses to help them figure out how to get from A to B.
Yep.
Because a lot of them know where they want to be or think they know where I want to be. And I'll work with them to help them figure out if that is actually where they want to be, a tangible path to get there, and then most importantly, how to quantify and count their progress along that way. And that's kind of how I stay involved in it, because
Yeah.
I do the same work here at Google. We're much bigger. So
Right.
we talk about things like, okay, we want to do this.
It
but
depends who you ask. Yeah.
We're a little I like to say that we're a cruise ship.
A little shop in New York and Silicon Valley.
Yeah, small startup.
Yep.
But
That's good.
I help navigate us, right? I help the giant boat turn left and right, and it
Yep.
takes a long time to spin
Port,
those engines.
port side.
Yeah.
And that's got to be cool. Do you enjoy that? The fact that you're working in such a big company, but you also work with so many, and get to meet so many people from small businesses and sort of in that different world?
Yeah, and it's especially cool for me in a strategy role. I'm not front-facing sales as much, but every once in a while, part of the work that I do is helping design the value proposition for our products and making sure that sales is properly trained and knows how to sell it globally. And so it's cool for me when I go in region or even here in the Americas and sit down with a client and have them really talk to me about what they're trying to do with their business and how we can best help them achieve that. Because it's cool to sit down with someone and see, like, here are the tools that we offer.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get to be, because I'm in strategy, I get to be blunt and say,
Yes.
like, if we're not the right option, like, I'll tell you we're not the right option, because my job
Right.
is to generate value for you. And if it's not us, then I'll be honest. And so it's cool. And sometimes people freak out when you do that, but that's like how you build trust. Like, we're
Right.
not always the best.
Yeah,
You need
it
to admit
is.
that sometimes.
And you have the tissues on your desk if they're ever needed. So
Well,
you
it's
can
usually
take
for the
those-
account manager I'm with, as they see their book of business getting closed.
Right, exactly. They come in handy multiple times. On that tissue note, well, let's get some more playful, some more lighter stuff. If that's all right with you. Yeah.
Yeah,
as
let's do it.
Keith wipes away a tear from his right eye as we speak.
It's a single tear trickling down.
So this is a segment called The Unusual. So phrases, quirks, and pet peeves. So this is always really fun to hear from different people. What's something that may seem normal to them or that they do on a daily basis or all the time that other people don't or might find a bit odd. And by odd, I mean in the best way, because I have as many quirks, probably more quirks than everybody else. So, for example, let's talk about, is there any phrases or is there any terms that you and your family said all the time that you realized at a certain point was not so common? So, for example, my grandpa on my dad's side, Grandpa Fred, he always, from Indiana, he always said, when you're saying goodbye, kind of as playful, it'd be like, don't stick too many beans up your nose, which kind of grew up with that and realized, you know what? Not that many people say that phrase. It's not as common as see you later. But that's an example. Is there anything you have like that?
So I've been trying to keep a list of quotes that I think are interesting and fascinating.
Yes.
One of my favorite ones, so I started breakdancing when I was about in 7th grade.
Yep.
And I was like very not awkward. I started coding at 9 years old. Like,
Yeah.
not a dancer.
Well, who doesn't? I mean,
I was like, so I was pretty fucking bad at dancing, to put it lightly.
uh-huh.
And I remember like a turning point was I started practicing on my own and was mediocre at best, and finally got to a point where I was like not an utter shame.
Mm-hmm.
And I got picked up by a breakdancing crew
No way.
who saw me kind of like, they performed and I went in after them, and they were like, yo, you like don't suck completely, like come practice with us.
Oh.
And I sucked completely, and they were like, it was like more of like a charity project for them,
Wow.
but I appreciated it.
Yep.
And one of the quotes they told me that was from a guy named Ben Ratner was, "Reek confidence."
Reek confidence. I like that.
And it's because, quite frankly, like, it doesn't matter how good or bad you are. If you reek confidence, if you approach it confidently and give it your best,
Mm-hmm.
especially with something like dance, like it'll show.
Yeah.
Even if you're not good, if you do it like with confidence, like it'll come out goofy and funny and everyone will love it. But if you're nervous and shaky the whole time, like even if you're excellent, if you're too rigid, you're not flexible, you don't have your own
Right.
style, it won't show. It won't look
Wow.
good.
So how did you reach confidence in the breakdancing world then? What did that mean? What changes did you make?
It's just owning what you do, owning your style and what you're good at,
Mm-hmm.
getting like appropriate clothing that fits you. And so like the way I used to start my
That
sets,
makes sense.
like
Yep.
because I was like pretty dorky looking back then before I got this chiseled six pack
Right,
and this
exactly.
full grown beard.
But yeah, we might need a video version of this for those reasons.
For those who don't know, I have a dad bod.
Dad model bod, but
But
yes. So
the way it does play
appearance wise, yeah.
So
That's the way you handle yourself, I guess. Yeah.
Well, so I would start my sets recognizing how like dorky I would look, and until I started dancing, people realized I knew what I was doing at this point. I would go in the center of a circle when a circle always forms, and I would kind of do like a half hokey pokey awkwardly, and I would look around while everyone was like in physical pain because they knew like how much of a train wreck and how bad it was going to be.
Right.
And then from there, I would always jump into a one-handed handstand and grab my foot and hold that for about 3 seconds because it was fun to watch.
Which is a lot. That's like a long 3 seconds, right? I mean, I could probably do like 0.3.
Yeah, it's a good hold. And I remember just watching people's faces because I was wearing like a flat hat at the time, and I'd put it on, I'd take it off and I'd put it back on through my leg. And it was fun to watch upside down everyone's expressions go from like pain of like the awkwardness of watching someone like a train wreck to being like, oh fuck, something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so that was like how I reached confidence in that. And then in the business world, it's like you go into a meeting, you're going to own it, you're going to give it your best. And
right.
You come in with that, not cockiness, but just a recognition that you're the man for the job and you're there for a reason.
Right.
Or
Confidence
for the job.
and exactly. One more breakdancing question because it's always, dreamed of breakdancing. What's your favorite breakdancing move?
It was called a monkey flip.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, and what it is, if you've ever seen someone, it's like a karate move almost. Like someone gets knocked down, they pop back up on their feet using their hands.
Oh, yeah.
So a monkey flip is if you do that, instead of popping up on your feet, you go backwards with the momentum. You push up with your hands, and you end up just on your feet still, but you kind of look like you do a little flip in between.
Okay. Wow. And how long did it take you to learn that?
That one's really easy. But
really?
It just, because doing it feels like really easy.
It sounds really cool.
It's like basically just...
Endorsed by monkeys.
Yeah, endorsed by monkeys. I figure for the jungle theme.
It's a wild move. It's a wild business growth move. And we'll start having a segment called the Wild Business Growth Breakdancing Move of the Week.
Looking forward to you featuring it, Max.
Starting the first one. Yes, that we will, that I will attempt over audio form. I guess one more thing on that. Do you have any big pet peeves? Anything that...
Biggest one is dishonesty.
Yes.
I'd rather have it blunt.
Well, you're lying. Yes.
Well, a lot of people like to sugarcoat it, or they like to not say the full situation.
Yes.
And I'd rather just like have the shit. Like, just tell me how bad it is. Tell me what the situation is. Like, break up with me, whatever it might be, versus like stringing something along.
Right.
Or like,
oh, absolutely.
If you know the account's going to close, if you know you're not going to make it to dinner, if you know whatever it might be.
Right.
I'd rather just have it up front because it's just easier to work with and triage.
Absolutely. That's the best way to learn. That's the best way to, it's easier to take it. Well, I don't know if Google uses this term, but rip the Band-Aid off, as they say.
As I'm covered in Band-Aids.
We're going to do it for real.
Yeah,
listeners might have a question about that.
Yeah, so I had an annual physical today. So I got a pneumonia vaccine and blood taken. So I am actually physically covered in Band-Aids.
Not all the time, just sometimes. So let's do, you up for a little rapid fire Q&A?
Yeah, hit me.
This is going to be, all right, rapid fire Q&A. Favorite food?
Sushi.
Ooh. Favorite show to binge watch?
Oh, Game of Thrones.
HBO. Oh, so not on Netflix one, HBO.
Or maybe Firefly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough on
Firefly. Ooh. Game of
Throwback.
Thrones. Favorite movie?
So Jumper is what immediately popped into my head.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I can't say that, but I might have to go with it. Maybe Edge of Tomorrow.
You said it.
Yeah.
Edge of Tomorrow. Okay. That's cool. I see what vibe you're liking. Favorite type of music?
I'm a big hip hop, rap, R&B guy.
Oh, nice. Explains the breakdancing, how you got into it at a young age.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite artist or group in that space?
That's really difficult.
I've never heard of them.
Yeah, right. So I feel like it ebbs and flows, but I will say that whenever I get sick of like the common music these days, which is like, hey, I have a table and a lot of money and a girl next to me or whatever, I like to go back to old Jay-Z, like original Blueprint. Like,
what about Reasonable Doubt? Because that was always like, I feel like with a lot of rappers, their first album is like their pride and joy and what they're known as their best. You like Blueprint better?
So I loved Reasonable Doubt. Just the original Blueprint. There's few albums I find myself that I can listen to from beginning to end. Like Drake's Thank Me Later, Blueprint, Slim's album Love's Crazy from Slim from 112. It's a throwback. It's a great album. He's been back recently.
Did you listen to Drake's new album, by the way?
I did, yeah.
What'd you think? Like it? Positive? Thumbs up?
I
Thumbs
just
down?
don't know if Kiki loves me or not.
There we go. We were gonna license that song, but it was a little bit above our starting out budget.
Yeah. Will Smith beat me to the dance. I had some great
I know.
ideas.
Did you like? Were you a side A guy or side B guy?
That's a tough one.
Did you listen-
I just been listening through it through and through. I feel like you can't go wrong.
Side
You
A,
coin
B.
flip it. Yeah.
Yeah. I've always liked his more hip hop stuff. I see why, but he's probably had more diehard fans these days with the R&B side these days. But it's crazy with him every single time he has a. It seems like every single time he drops a single, or people find a song that they love on his album, it's like immediately becomes played every other song on every station and every like it's amazing just how big he's gotten. You have a favorite color?
Favorite color? I feel like I end up wearing blue a lot, so
Yeah.
I'd probably have to go with blue.
Same here. I feel like growing up, wearing green today. I used to say green, and then at some point I was just like, you know what? It's the same thing. I'm always wearing blue. It's just
Fun fact on blue is if you go to Facebook, that blue color they have, they had a
Yes.
team of psychologists figure out what was the most calming, relaxing color of blue.
really.
Yeah, so Facebook scientifically tried to pick their color that way.
Oh no way.
Yeah.
It's cool to look into the psychology of different colors because it can mean a ton. My dad started the company. He started featuring, and with like the website and everything, he was featuring yellow and red a lot. And then just historically with brands like McDonald's, for example, there were brands that became very big that way just because they're so disruptive. They're such disruptive colors and powerful colors that he looked at those and the other companies that are that way. And as we can go into a color wheel all day.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
all day.
it was called like the Cooler. Adobe has this tool. It's like this color wheel. It lets you look at colors that either directly work together or directly contrast, and you can kind of play around with it to come up with colors like that.
Oh wow.
So it's kind of like a fun random tool if people want to look it up.
Oh, nice.
I feel like people can't actually see, but
It's definitely a colorful tool.
yeah, you kind of just can figure out,
Whoa, that's
and it tells you hexadecimal levels.
That's
if you're getting
amazing.
into design.
yeah. Podcast listeners, you have to bear with us. Trust us. It looks really cool.
It's
It looks
very bright.
if we could paint a picture with words, it would be amazing. But Adobe Color, yeah. Do you play any instruments, or did you used to play any instruments?
No, I suck. I can't do that.
You suck. Okay.
I tried. I definitely tried. I just don't practicing, studying, doing something like that. Not my forte.
Right. It's a huge time commitment. What's your what did you try?
So I tried guitar. I always want to learn piano,
Mhm.
and I was getting into DJing, but I'm just more of an active person, which is how I ended up on the dancing side of things.
Oh wow. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so this has been an awesome conversation. I hope we're the only podcast you listen to today that talked about motorcycle happy birthday shoutouts and mattresses. But Keith, can't thank you enough for coming on and also hosting here at the Google office. I mean, this has been incredible experience and super gracious and thankful for your support and really excited to have you on. It's been great catching up and talking through things. On that note, is there, for our listeners out there, where can they reach you? Is there, social media handles or some sort of contact information that you want to share out so people can see where they can keep up with you?
Happy to. So I would say, as you're saying, I'm a fairly avid fan. I used to do Snapchat, but that's dead. So I'm on Instagram now.
Ooh, burn.
Yeah, it's, not very happy about that.
A lot has changed. Yeah, I know. It's a bummer.
It's a bummer.
IG is all where it's at right now.
Yeah, so I'm pretty big on Instagram with my mom, dad, grandma following me. So I'm
perfect. Hey, the more the merrier. And you have 3 followers, right?
Yeah, all 3 are great.
Great follower. Cool. I'll give you a follow later today. Instagram. So Instagram's the best place to reach you?
I would say The Real Keith W on Instagram,
The
or
Real
if you
Keith
Google
W,
my
nice.
name, Keith Weisberg, that's Weisberg. If you Google me, I will come right up. I may or may not have influenced that.
Perfect. Yep. You probably know some people, huh? So The Real Keith W on Instagram, Google, Keith Weisberg, Google, no pun intended, Google. Just don't use any other search engine. Thanks again. Now everybody knows where to reach you. Do you have any final words? Is there a quote you want to leave with or a question you want to ask? Anything you want. Your final words from this podcast appearance.
So I'll leave you with one thing, Max. Every morning in Africa, a gazelle wakes up. It knows it must outrun the fastest lion or it would be killed. And every morning in Africa, a lion wakes up. It knows it must run faster than the slowest gazelle or it will starve. Doesn't matter whether you're the lion or gazelle, you got to get the fuck up in the morning.
There we go. My favorite quote. I actually have that tattooed on my pinky, but
It was really small. I was wondering what that was.
All right. That was Keith Weisberg. Thank you so much, Keith, for hosting at that amazing Google office in New York. Thank you so much to our Gazelle and Lion listeners. You know, we hear from you guys a lot, roaring like crazy out there. We know it's a wild world out there. No, but really, thank you to all our listeners. Whether this is your first episode or this is your 10th episode, we really, really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to us. We hope you have enjoyed everything so far, and we have a lot of exciting stuff coming. So let's take this thing from the 10th episode to the 10 millionth episode, which will take quite some time, so we need your help. Appreciate any feedback. You can hit us up at any social media platform with the handle HippoDirect. Make sure to subscribe, leave 5 stars, leave a review, especially on iTunes. If you like anything discussed in this episode related to the marketing world, especially the Casper campaign, or even if you like naps in general, you'll love our Hippo Digest. It's our weekly recap of creative marketing straight to your inbox. You can sign up at hippodirect.com/newsletter. And as always, any references throughout this episode, you can find links to in the show notes. You can check out the blog every single day that we post a new episode, and you can learn more about Keith and all his breakdancing and allergies and whatnot there. That's all for this week. If we have any more questions, you can just Google them. You're welcome. Until next time, let your business run wild.
Bring on the bongos!